Hi, it's nice to meet you, Daniel.
Nice to meet you. I'm Talia.
Mercedes.
Nice to meet you, Mercedes.
Okay, so thank you for agreeing to do this with us.
No problem.
First question is, why do you think that fair trade is important?
Fair trade is important because it gives food producers, the people who make our food and grow our food, fair wages. Gives them an opportunity to make a premium on their product and to employ their workers at a fair price. So they're paying everyone who works for them with a fair wage.
Cool, thanks.
Okay. Why do you make a business out of selling fair trade items in Toronto while people can just visit another store or a corner store for a cheaper version of it?
Well, we're a food co-op, so at Karma here we place a strong value on organic, local and fairly traded goods when we have to import them. So for us it's part of our mandate, so it's part of what we specialize in, it's part of what our consumers want to buy. So they could just go somewhere else and buy things for cheaper, but this is an important thing for them.
Cool. Okay, what makes fair trade different from other merchandise? I mean, besides the obvious, like, are there some moral values that are implicated that you see, or just besides, like, fair wages?
Well, fair trade also implements within their standards. They have many standards, but they also have an environmental standard. So certain pesticides aren't allowed to be used, and producers need to employ certain practices to be certified fair trade. Yeah.
When did you first learn about fair trade?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe too long ago. I don't know. Maybe well, when I first started to introduce it into my life, maybe that's a question I can answer better. About 6 years ago, I started to buy, that became an important part of how I bought my food, or a reason why I bought my food. So yeah, probably about 6 years ago.
Did you learn about it, like, from a newspaper article or from a friend, or was it kind of a media implication that informed you about it, or was it from word of mouth from others?
It was mostly actually from seeing products on the shelf and seeing that logo, and that is what got me curious about it and made me investigate a little bit further.
Have you partnered with any other cooperatives or fair trade organizations? Like, I noticed that you had Coco Camino.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys partner with them heavily, or?
We carry a lot of their products. We don't have actual partnerships per se, but we do support them by carrying all their products.
What made you think about fair trade, that fair trade was important, and what persuaded you to?
Mostly the fair wages. I believe people deserve to be paid the real value for what they're producing and not be undercut. That's really important to me. That's my main reason for supporting fair trade.
And what makes the merchandise here at Karma Co-op stand out from other fair trade retailers in Toronto?
In terms of our fair trade products that we carry?
Or in general?
We carry a lot of local things that are produced by our members, so that's pretty unique. We have some pretty unique members here who have some really great skills that they share with us, so we showcase their products. And just the local organic is our focus, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so start it off with, why do you think that fair trade is important?
I think it's important because I think everyone deserves the right to receive a fair wage for their work. I think it's important. I think the impact that it has on global poverty, and hopefully as we go along it will have more and more impact also on human trafficking. I think it has the potential to make a huge impact on human trafficking, with them all being linked and tied together. Yeah, so I think it's really, really important in all of those areas. And we, I think it's important to create that awareness and let people who, live in the developed countries understand that, and also educate them to learn about that and learn about the impact fair trade is making now, and more importantly will make in the future, because it is, a growing movement, and it's growing quite rapidly. Okay.
Why do you make a business out of selling fair trade items while people can just visit another regular store and buy a cheaper version?
Well, this company, 10,000 Villages, pioneered fair trade back in the 40s. We are actually a program of the Mennonite Central Committee, who are an NGO, humanitarian peace and relief and aid organization. So they pioneered fair trade back in the 40s, and it's really, the ethos of the company is to create sustainable employment, long-term trading relationships. So I came on board here because I was very much drawn to the mission and very much drawn to the project as it's existed we just celebrated our 65th anniversary.
Oh wow, congratulations.
Yeah, so which is amazing. So they started fair trade because it was just, part of their belief system and part of the ethos of any company they wanted to have. Yeah.
And apart from the obvious, what kind of morally makes fair trade different from other normal merchandise?
Well, I think maybe the intent behind it, the fact that people are given a fair wage for their work, it enables them to do a really good job. It enables them to make the best product they can. And a lot of our artisan groups are, of course, artisans in their own right. Some are job creation projects. But if you take a look at our rugs, we have fairly traded rugs, which are very difficult to get. To get a fair trade rug, for example, here in Toronto, 98% of the rugs you would get in that style are not fairly traded and have other issues like child labor or whatever it may be. But the fact that the artisans can take pride in their work and not have to rush it, not have to skimp on materials. For example, with carpets, usually the lanolin's taken out of the wool so they can sell it so they can make money. But just so the artisans also can create a product and a piece of artwork or a rug that they're proud of, and that is done to the best of their abilities. And I think as the customer, we reap the rewards of that.
When did you first learn about fair trade?
Wow. I started volunteering about 8 years ago. I had worked in a different line of work, and I wanted to make a different kind of contribution. So I looked around, I began volunteering, and there was 10,000 Villages where I lived in Riverdale. And I learned, I looked up and learned about the company and their mission statement and what they do, and I fell in love with it. And I really, what I did before I was self-employed, so to work for a company, for me, it was really important to work for a company with the ethos and the values that a company like 10,000 Villages has, a triple bottom line company. Yeah.
Cool. And then after you had learned about it and you had researched the company, what made you want to be a part of it?
That it's the social justice aspect. Just that is their belief through and through, and that is, in the world we have today, that people can believe that that's how other people just truly should be treated. And to work for people who are living in abject poverty, just because I think it's the right thing to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
What makes your set of merchandise different from others?
What I touched on regarding the quality, that the artisans are given, they have the right materials, they do have time to make the pieces, they're not having to skimp, they're not having to rush, and they have the artistic freedom. Oh, that's one thing. Can you give me the question one more time?
What makes your set of merchandise different from like, other retailers?
The cultural relevance, for one. Also, the artisans are given full artistic liberty to make what they want. For example, I'll go back to our rugs. They're all one-of-a-kinds. We do not dictate in any way what our artisans make. We do not tell them you have to do 5 blue, 4 white, 4 orange. They are inspired by what's around them, architecture, nature, whatever they want to do, and then they can create. You know, and that's really rare that isn't dictated in, you know, in the market today. So that's unique. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.